Imagine doing an 1,800-mile road trip and having to drive manually the entire time in a big, heavy pickup truck. That's exhausting just thinking about it, right? Well, I just did. 1,732 miles and I barely touched a wheel. What's up, everyone? It's CyberRob coming at you from inside of Cyber City. I just got back from one of the most insane road trips I have ever done. Bay Area, California, all the way out to Las Vegas, Nevada. Then Las Vegas up to Hurricane, Utah. Hurricane back to Vegas. Vegas back to Hurricane again. And then the final push. Las Vegas all the way back home to the Bay Area. In total, 1,732 miles. And here's the best part of doing this. I towed 532 miles of it with a 6,000-pound travel trailer. I'm going to break down everything. The real numbers, the charging costs, what FSD was like in the Cybertruck, what it was like in the mountains of Utah, and most importantly, whether I would do it again. Let's get into it. Okay, let's start with the raw numbers because they tell a story on their own. 1,732 miles in total, 990 kilowatt hours total energy used, 572 watts per mile average for the entire trip. Now that's with a 7,000-pound Cyber Beast Cybertruck. Now I know what some of you are thinking. 572 miles sounds high. And yeah, it is higher than the Model Y, but I wasn't in the Model Y. I was in the Cybertruck Cyber Beast tri-motor, all-wheel drive, air suspension, one of the heaviest production trucks Tesla makes. And 532 of those miles, I was towing a travel trailer that weighs roughly the same as the truck itself. So when you factor all of that in, those numbers actually make a lot of sense. The route was Bay Area to Las Vegas, Hurricane, Utah, back to Las Vegas, back into Hurricane, Utah, back to Las Vegas, then back to the Bay Area. Yes, I did that. Hurricane, Utah to Vegas loop twice. There's a story there, but more on that in a minute. Total charging stops was 20. Average cost per stop, anywhere between $20 and $33. Total supercharging bill for the entire road trip, $402. Now here's where it gets interesting. If I had done that same trip in a gas-powered pickup truck, getting anywhere between 12 miles per gallon and 22 miles per gallon, you're looking at anywhere of a cost of $520 to $866 in fuel. I saved a minimum $100, possibly over $400. And that's while towing a third of the trip. Without towing, I would have saved significantly more. Electric wins on the math every single time. All right, let's talk about what it's actually like to be in the Cybertruck on a long haul. First, the ride. Air suspension on a tri-motor Cybertruck at highway speeds is genuinely impressive. Yes, the truck is heavy. Yes, it doesn't carve corners like a sports car, but in reality, it sometimes does. But on the open highway between the Bay Area and Las Vegas, where average speeds are sitting at 70 miles per hour, this thing is planted hard on the ground. Potholes, absorbed. Road debris, dodged by FSD. Wind, handled with ease. The truck just eats miles. Now, I run FSD in Mad Max mode on the highway. That's my preferred setting at any time over 75 miles an hour. Mad Max is more aggressive. It passes slower vehicles. It maintains speed confidently. It drives the way I want to drive on an open highway. And here's something I want to highlight that I don't think gets enough credit. How much smoother FSD has gotten off the line, especially in the Cybertruck. When I first got the truck 2.5 years ago, FSD on the Cybertruck was noticeably behind the Model Y. The truck felt hesitant, unsure. It didn't have the same confidence as the car. That has completely changed now. The software updates over the last 2.5 years have turned this truck into a completely different driver. Smooth acceleration from stops, confident lane changes, proper highway pacing. It is light years ahead of where it started. The only caveat, in Mad Max mode, it can be a little aggressive off the line at stoplights on city streets. So when I'm on the city, I switch to standard or chill mode. No need to chirp tires at a red light and catch a speeding ticket. But on the freeway, Mad Max all day long. Now let's talk about the part of this trip that was genuinely challenging. Hurricane, Utah. If you've never driven North Highway 15 from Las Vegas up into Utah, let me paint the picture. You're climbing constantly, mountain grades, tight curves, wind coming from the canyon walls in all directions, and the elevation changes are real. I did that stretch towing a 6,000 pound travel trailer. The trailer and the truck combined, the weight almost the same. The size comparison is wild. The truck looks like it's pulling something twice its size, but the Cyber Beast handled it with ease. Here's what worked. The trailer sway assist built into the Cybertruck is genuinely excellent. Going through those high wind sections of the Utah mountains, sections where a less capable setup would have the trailer dancing all over the lane. The truck held it completely steady. Rock solid. The setup matters too. I had sway bars on the trailer hitch. The combination of the truck's built-in trailer management system plus proper hardware made all of the difference. The steer-by-wire was huge. It helped getting into tight camping spots. Turning radius on the truck with a long trailer is always a challenge, but steer-by-wire makes the truck feel more nimble than it has any right to be. The 240 outlet and the two 120 volt plugs on the truck bed meant that the trailer stayed powered at stops without needing shore power hookups. That's a massive convenience people underestimate. I also use both 120 plugs to add extra AC condensing unit since the travel trailer at high temperatures cannot handle the heat load. And Starlink has backup internet through the mountain ranges of Utah, essential. Cell signal drops significantly. Starlink doesn't. Now, the honest downside, towing kills range. Big time. At 50 to 55 miles per hour, you can eke out decent efficiency, about 50 to 60 extra miles on an 80% charge compared to highway speeds. But nobody drives 50 miles an hour on the interstate unless they have to. At real-world towing speeds, you're stopping to charge frequently, very frequently. I charge roughly 20 times on this trip. That's a lot. And while each stop is only $20 to $30, it adds up mentally. The charging anxiety, where you're pulling a heavy trailer and watching the battery percentage drop faster than normal, is real. The Cybertruck is not built to compete with a diesel dually on towing range. If I could match that, it would be a complete game changer, but it can't. Not yet. Unless they bring back the extra power battery pack that they were supposed to do, I don't see this being a very good towing truck. That said, you need power, the tri-motor delivers. Needing to pass a semi-truck on an uphill grade in Utah while pulling 6,000 pounds? Done. No drama, instant torque. The power is never the problem. The range is. I want to spend a few minutes specifically on FSD because this trip gave me a lot of data points. 1,732 miles is not a short sample size. On the freeway, it's so exceptionally well. Long stretches of I-5 and I-15 between California and Nevada and Utah. FSD handled hours at a time without intervention, smooth, consistent, and confident. The truck maintained speed, managed traffic, passed when appropriate, and held lanes perfectly. At 75 miles an hour through the Utah mountains, passing vehicles, managing curves, handling the grade changes. It's just sitting there, monitoring, and being relaxed. That's the promise of this technology, and on the open highway, it absolutely delivers. In the city streets, it's still the same. Confident throughout the whole time of being in those streets, navigating stoplights, cars coming from all directions, handled it without any issues. Towing in FSD is definitely not happening yet, but I can see that happening later on in the future. Tesla Semi is out and will have probably the same exact thing, but just at a later time. It's not the most important. The bottom line on FSD is that I have said it before and I'll keep saying it again. It gets better and better over time as the software improves and gives updates, mostly monthly. It acts more sentient. I will take FSD over manual driving on a long road trip every single time. Even if I had to pay more for charging or even about the same as gas, I will still pick full self-drive over manually driving every single time. Not having a not manually piling 1,700 miles on a single biggest quality of life improvement in driving technology I have ever experienced. The truck is genuinely a better driver than I am on the open road. That's not hype, that's fact. So, the most important question of all, should you road trip in a Cybertruck? Abso-freaking-lutely. It is the only decision, not only with a truck, but with a Tesla in general. If you're doing a pure road trip with no towing, the Cybertruck is a phenomenal road trip vehicle. Comfortable, capable, fast charging network, FSD to keep you fresh. The energy costs are lower than gas, and the experience is generally next level. Now, on the other hand, if you're towing, let's be realistic. Plan your charging stops, keep speeds moderate when you can, budget extra time. The range hit is real, and frequent charging is part of the deal. But the truck absolutely handles the load with no issues. Also, the numbers don't lie. $402 total in supercharging versus up to $866 in comparable gas truck. And I still had FSD the whole time, majority of the time actually. 532 miles was spent towing, but the rest was spent on full self-drive. That's the trade I'll make every single time. I own 11 Teslas. The Cyber Beast is by far the most capable road trip machine I've driven. Not because it's perfect, but because of what it represents. A 7,000-pound truck that drives itself across mountain passes, tows a trailer through canyon crosswinds, and costs less to fuel than the alternatives. That is the future of driving, and I'm living in it right now. Now, in comparison, my Model Y 2026 compared to my Tesla Cyber Beast is definitely different. Alright guys, I want to hear from you. Have you ever done a road trip this long in an EV or in a Cybertruck or a gas truck? What was your experience like? Drop it in the comments. I read every single one. If you're thinking about a Cybertruck road trip and have questions, drop those too. I'll answer all of them. This is the future of autonomy, and I'm so glad I get to experience it every single day. This is CyberRob coming at you from inside of Cyber City. Thank you for tuning in. See you on the next one.